What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So we're gonna attempt anyway. We've got a leaking boiler and it's like $5,000, $3 to $5,000 for a new boiler. So we're gonna attempt to fix the leaks. So first off, I'm trying to identify where exactly the leaks are coming from. Notice this big puddle here. You know, I've been working here, changing pipes. Maybe it was the change in pressure, I don't know. But I found leak number 1 is right here on this takeout pump. So we will take that out, get new gaskets, get a new pump, and just change it out. Wire brush that up, clean it up. Everything else looks good there. And then we have this hot water. This is a tankless hot water heater system that just runs off the boiler. Otherwise, if you look at the body of the boiler, it looks fairly good. Yeah, the boiler looks good. So I believe the leak is here and there. So I'm gonna try to pull this stuff apart, clip these pipes, and we're going to attempt spray a bunch of WD-40 on these nuts and try to get them off. And if we can get this thing out, then we can go order a new one and just swap it out. Alright, so I start by shutting this electricity off, draining the boiler down through this boiler drain here. It's the lowest point at the boiler. I just ran it over into shower pan over there, closest drain, and I shut off the water, the hot water, and we're gonna drain that down next. I think these boiler drains need to be replaced as well. They are not looking too good, so we'll probably replace that, and now I'm just gonna try to get some of this out of the way. Hopefully the jacket isn't in the way. We may have to cut it a little bit so we can get in there. So these soldered joints, they just broke free. They weren't obviously, I don't know if they were done right or they used 50-50 solder, I don't know. But that was too easy. That was a problem for later. That was definitely something that was gonna start leaking. So I'm still waiting for this boiler to drain down. You can see if I unscrew this, water starts coming out. And I keep checking, the water's still draining. I guess all the pipes from upstairs are draining down here. Yeah, it's still going. So at least I can get to these bottom nuts now. I'm gonna get a flathead and a hammer and try to chip away some of the big stuff, then get in there with a wire brush and WD-40, try to get them all cleaned up. And then I brought back up Milwaukee impact gun. Try to get the appropriate size socket and bust those free. So it looks like the actual threads are part of the boiler. And Alright, so I'm getting the water level in the boiler just down low enough that we can get this out. I don't want to completely drain it because everything inside had water in it previously, And now we're introducing air into the system. So if this sits a while, that air will get in there and start really rusting the inside. So we just want to drain it down enough and then stop. Leave the rest filled with water. And hopefully we can get this to seal back up. Holy crap. So I was literally just trying to see what size socket I needed. I put it on. I'm like, whoa, that feels loose. What in the... Look at this. It wasn't even tight. I hope the rest come off like that. All right, moment of truth here. Ooh. Shit. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Huh. Alright, so it all came off. It looks really good. The boiler body looks good. Look inside. Yeah, you can see the water level just below. But one of the studs snapped off. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we can grind that down and go get a welder and weld on a new stud. All right. So I went to the plumbing supply house and they seem to think that I'm crazy. They don't think that I can fix this. They said, no, you snapped off a stud. I'm like, possibly two. They're like, oh no, it's done. You gotta replace the boiler. And I'm like, I don't know. I beg to differ because the boiler itself is still in good shape. And here's the gamble. So I know there's probably other people out there that have similar issues with their boiler. It's leaking or whatever. First step, figure out where it's leaking from. That's step number one. You gotta go investigate. You know, so that's what we did. We came down and investigated. We found that it was leaking from these flanges here, and it was leaking from the tankless. So we rolled the dice. So you pull this off, and usually this part of the flange here is usually all pitted and just destroyed. But in this case, I mean, it's smooth as a baby's ass. This thing looks beautiful, except for these two studs right here, which I'm gonna try to grind this one off, and I picked up a Harbor Freight welder, Chicago Electric. It was probably 300 bucks. I have used this welder before. I bought it like 15 years ago to weld a brake part in my Dodge Dakota truck that I had, and then I just returned the welder and said it didn't work. But in this case, my boss paid for it, so, you know, whatever. You know, to replace this whole boiler, it would be probably somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000, which, you know, it's not up to me. If this was my house, yeah, I would replace the boiler, but it's not my house. So my boss bought this place to flip, and he did not account for boiler replacement in the money department. So we're gonna try to fix this guy. So this boiler is actually from 1983. This boiler has been sitting in this house, heating this house for longer than I've been alive. That's crazy. Alright, so we got most of the new valves on. Right there, there, there. we get the pump out. So now we gotta see if we can salvage these flanges. I really don't want to try, especially this one. I don't even want to attempt to get that off because I don't want to cause any leaks down here at the bottom of the boiler. So I'm going to try to use my grinder, wire brush wheel, get these nice. I may go to the supply house and grab a new one of these. That might come off. But this one I'm not even going to attempt. I'm going to try to clean this up, paint it, see if we can get the gaskets off of this pump, get these two faces nice and clean, and then if we need to, we'll run to the supply house. Gotta grab some other stuff anyway. So alright, so this flange was pitted a little bit, just a tiny bit. So I took this 40 grit flap disc wheel and just blasted over it, and it smoothed it right out. And then I did the same on the other end. I just cut the pipe so I could get to the bottom, flap disc it nice and smooth. I'm gonna go get some RTV high temp silicone. I'm gonna put a little bit just to fill in any little grooves. I know that's not normally something that you would do. You would just use the gaskets, but I'm not taking any chances here. So I'm just gonna wire brush this up a little bit, and then I have some black spray paint. I'm just gonna just to help, you know, it'll be like brand new again, just new, perfectly new. Yeah, buddy, look at that. It's brand new. Put the little brand new spray on there. Yeah. So I decided, since, you know, I'm gonna use some RTV just in case on these, because they're, you can see it's like, yeah, this slight little pits, but you know, I grinded it, cleaned it up. So I got some high temperature RTV. This is good up till 650 degrees. Boilers are only 180 degrees ish, so this should be more than enough. And seeing that I'm using the RTV, I went and grabbed a new 007 pump. It was like 120 bucks. I just think it'll be worth, or not worth the aggravation if this thing doesn't work or whatever. So alright, I've been screaming for a couple days for the electrician to get over here. Obviously, they haven't been hearing my screams, so I'm not waiting any longer. I went over to the panel, started flipping some breakers, came over here, and yeah, we have power. So I'm not an electrician, but you can see this is the plug to the Harbor Fraud welding machine. You see it's got a prong here, and this is clearly ground. So if you look in here, we have 3 wires plus a ground. So I'm like, huh. So I grabbed some extension cable here and a dryer plug that will plug directly into the end of that. I needed a little bit more length, so now we have 3.5 feet of cable. That should give us a little extra length that we need to get in there. And I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Tell me if I'm wrong. We're gonna find out when we plug it in, if it blows up. Blows up the Harbor Fraud machine. But I'm pretty sure if I tested with an electrical tester, if I go from black to white, that's 120 volts. If I go from white to red, that's 120 volts. And if I do black and red together, that's the 240 volts. So I'm pretty sure I connect the black, the red, the ground, and I leave the common off. Don't use the common. So there's like different types of 220. And clearly this only has 2 terminals and a ground. So yeah, we're gonna find out right now. All right, all hooked up. Before we turn the power on, let's see if it works. I'm gonna grind off both of these nubs, clean up the metal in here, and then I'm gonna do a test weld on this piece of pipe just to make sure the settings are right and everything before we even touch this. All right, moment of truth. That's a good sign. Now let's flip on the machine. The Harbor Freight machine. And let me make sure I'm clear. Make sure nothing's touching. All right, let's we'll go to 200. Start with that. Contact. Hey. Okay. Oh, the coil's in. That was the supply house it just called. Beautiful. All right, 160 I think is about where we want it. Let's try this one more time. Beautiful. You shouldn't be welding on cardboard, but yeah, dude. All right, I'm gonna go pick up the coil and then we'll install it, test it out. And I figure, you know, if all else fails, if this doesn't work, I mean, it looks good, not bad. But if all else fails, I'll just cut all of these off and then we'll just weld the thing in place. Or we'll just use a couple of them to tighten it down and we'll just weld it right to the boiler. Whatever. It's gonna work. All right, the new coil's here. So it actually came with a bunch of these studs. It looks like possibly the newer style boilers. They might have a thicker region here where, you know, these are tapped into the boiler. So if they break off, you can, you know, drill them out and put in new ones. But this one's so old that they're definitely not. I can feel behind here. This is just 1/4 inch steel. It's not cast iron, so no worky. But came with nuts, new gasket. The only problem is, you know, these threads are not in the best. They're a little crummy, and I got a few welding splatters stuck on the threads here. So I don't know, I might have to try to grind those off. I might do a test fit, just put it in without the gasket, see if I can tighten all the, or maybe I'll just see if I can tighten all the nuts down first. And once I'm clear, then we'll do some RTV on both sides, put this in, and fill her up. There it is. So I was very careful. Like, I was afraid to over tighten these nuts and snap off posts. So I did RTV high temp silicone on both sides of the gasket and just squished it in. You know, I don't think you'd want to do this on a new boiler, but this thing is older than me, so we're gonna use the RTV, and you know, maybe they get another 10 years out of this thing, 15 years, who knows. All right, before I go any further, hooking up the Aquastat, stuff like that, I want to flush out the system, just in case any of grinding or whatever got inside the boiler. So I'm letting water in, and it's going down into the boiler, flushing everything out and coming out right out the bottom here. Any sludge buildup should come right. Yeah, look at that. Look at all that metal from grinding. Yep. So we'll get this all flushed out, and then we're gonna fill it up. All right, so now we got it all flushed out. I'm gonna fill it up now. So I'll shut this valve. This is the return. So I close this, so we're gonna fill the boiler. Once the boiler's full, it's gonna force the water up this pipe and throughout the entire house, and then it will come back down this return line, and I have this stopped so we can get all of the air out from here. And once all the air's out, then we'll crack this back open, see if we have any leaks. My goodness, this has 30 PSI in it now. Son of a gun. I thought this was gonna be impossible. There's no way you're fixing that boiler, dude. Well, that looks pretty good. This thing is full. The whole house is full. We have 30 PSI. And, yeah, see? No more leaky. Nice and dry. Doesn't look like shit anymore. I just gotta hook up the controls and fire it up. I know it runs because it was running before I started all of this. So yeah, there's the impossible fix on a boiler. So pretty much the boiler body, there's nothing wrong with it. So you just change all these little controls out and valves, And she'll probably get another 10 or 15 years out of this thing. Who knows? I mean, it's not really much to it. It's a canister that holds water and it heats it up and pumps it through the house. It's not like rocket science or anything. So yeah, that's it. Probably saved about 5 or 6 grand there. But my boss still won't be happy. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this one. Make sure you subscribe. Throw me a thumbs up. Because we do impossible stuff here on my channel. Apparently. See you in the next one.